This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to lockdown coverage week number 15 in the National Football League. Browns suffered their 14th loss in a row to start the 2017 season as they remain the only winless team in the league as they get downed 27-10 at home at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens, who are in the dead heat of a playoff race themselves, looking to get that sixth and final wild card spot in the AFC playoffs. And this is a Ravens team that is playing their best football at the right time of the year. The offense is starting to come alive. They scored 27 points in this game against a Browns defense that is not half bad. Flacco, I thought, looked really good, seemed to get into a rhythm early. We know that this Ravens run game is, to me, the basis and foundation of everything that they do. If they run it well, Flacco can then go play action fake, take some shots down the field. It loosens everything up. You know they don't have the best receivers in the world. Jeremy Maclin makes a good catch over the middle of the field, then promptly gets hurt on the same play with his back, leaves the game, don't know if he's going to return. He's been pretty disappointing this season for the Ravens, and that injury to me is a microcosm of his season. Thus far, though, this is a Ravens offense that, as the season has progressed, they've leaned more and more towards the run. Now Flacco is starting to get more and more comfortable. Remember, no offseason for Flacco for the most part with that injury. And so now he's starting to get into a rhythm. Now they're starting to figure out that we got to get the tight ends involved, whether it's Boyle or it's Watson, who had a big game in this particular game. And now Mike Wallace is starting to get comfortable, and he's making plays. And I told you I liked Chris Moore, and he's getting more involved. And they're figuring some things out in Baltimore on the offensive side of the football. Flacco, I thought, was good in this football game, took care of the football. Buck Allen was good in this game. Not the best game for a guy that I like a lot at the running back position. But despite, and I think he might have sustained an injury, if I'm not mistaken, which is why we got more Buck Allen in this game. But nonetheless, I thought the Ravens did a really good job of putting the Browns to sleep after getting off to a slow start. This was a game that was 7-3 Browns for a good part of the game in the second quarter. Ravens took a 3-0 lead. They got stopped. They went for it on a fourth down by the goal line, got stuffed. Didn't love the play calling there. They didn't get in. And then they turned around and gave up a 59-yard run to Isaiah Crowell that set up the Browns' only touchdown of the game. They had all the momentum at that point in the game. And the defense, and this is where the defense needed to come out and get a stop and keep that momentum going. Unfortunately, they weren't able to. They allowed the Ravens to take the football and move it right down the field and get a touchdown, take the lead, and the Ravens would never look back after that point in the game. I thought DeShone Kizer regressed in this game. He wasn't what I had seen from him. He seemed like he was starting to get it. And again, credit the Baltimore Ravens defense. Eric Weddle with a pick in this game. They had another pick, and I think that other pick, if I'm not mistaken, went for a touchdown in this game. So they made plays. They did what they were supposed to do on the road against the Cleveland Browns team that hasn't won a game and still hasn't won a game. They dominated the Baltimore or the Cleveland Browns, took it to DeShone Kizer, and got out of there with a 27-10 victory. And so the Ravens, who I think have a very advantageous schedule down the stretch, at home for Indy next week on a Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. Got to take care of that game there. That's easy money. They're giving you a layup. Go ahead and put it in the basket. And then you finish up at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, another team that has seemingly quit. Go ahead, finish those boys off, and send Marvin Lewis into his twilight in style with a nice ass whooping. So 10-6 will get you in the playoffs. You just got to win, because I don't see Buffalo beating New England this coming week in Week 16, and New England's got to have it. So you've got the road paved for you if you're Baltimore. And hell, even Tennessee at this point looks a little shaky. After going out west and losing to two teams they had no business losing to, they've got the Rams coming to their building. They could all of a sudden drop to 8-7, and at that point, 10-6 will be good enough to get in over them. They own tiebreaker over you, because remember, they beat you in Tennessee earlier in the season, but that may not matter if they don't finish with 10 wins. So everything's looking good for the Ravens right now as far as getting into the postseason is concerned. All you have to do is take care of business, and everything else will take care of itself. For the Browns, really disappointed in the offense in this game. Again, another one of these weeks where they just don't run it enough for my liking. Deshaun Kaiser regressed, 2 interceptions in this game. A lot of pressure on him, which is unfortunate because the Ravens don't get a ton of pressure, but it seemed like Terrell Suggs was really putting a lot of pressure on Deshaun Kaiser, which led to a pressure where Judon is getting in and other guys are getting to Kaiser and making him uncomfortable. And so it wasn't a good offensive performance. Josh Gordon, they tried to force him to football. Didn't work until later on in the game when the game was out of hand. But early on, he really couldn't get any separation. Marlon Humphrey continues to be a standout at the cornerback position for this Ravens football team as he continues to progress in his rookie season. They're gaining more and more confidence in his ability to shut guys down and make plays. And so this is a Ravens team, two-headed monster at the running back position between Alex Collins and Buck Allen. Allen had to assume the lead dog role this week, with Collins, I think, sustaining a little bit of an injury in this game. Nonetheless, Mike Wallace starting to show up. The tight end position with Boyle and Watson starting to show up big. Watson with a big touchdown grab in this game right before the half to spread the game out at 17-7. Again, the Browns turning the football over at the most inopportune time there right before the half to allow the Ravens to kind of distance themselves from them in this game. So, again, Ravens doing what they need to do, creating turnovers, holding down the Browns offensively and scoring points as they win this game 27-10, move to 8-6 on the season, and put themselves in a position to finish up this season on a nice little win streak that will allow them to not only make the playoffs but potentially make some noise once they get there. If they get the 5th seed and they're able to avoid Jacksonville in round one and get Kansas City, they can go to Kansas City and win. I see that as a big time winnable game for them. If they can avoid Jacksonville. That's the one team they don't want any parts of right now. No one wants any parts of Jacksonville. But if you can avoid Jacksonville, avoid them like the plague, I think the Ravens are setting themselves up to be able to do exactly that. With the Titans tripping right now, I could see the Ravens getting in as the 5th seed and maybe doing a little bit of damage once they do get there. But they got to win. This was a nice win here on the road. Next week you go home for Indianapolis and finish up at home versus Cincinnati. Again, 2 winnable games against 2 bad football teams. Take care of business, and you should be in the postseason at 10-6. As for the Browns, quickly, the only chance you have to win is next week. If you don't win next week, you're going to go 0-16, which is unfortunate. You're going to go down in infamy as one of the worst teams in NFL history because it's hard to not win a game in this season, in this league, I should say. And you've had ample opportunities. Green Bay last week is the one that, for all intents and purposes, you're going to look back on this season if you don't win a game and say that's the one that got away. But you've had opportunities this season. That's not the only one, but that's going to be the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. But the Bears next week is the one you got to get. You don't get that one, you won't get one. So 2 rookie quarterbacks squaring off. You've got the better defense. Find a way to win. The key to that game, take away the Bears' run game. Make Mitchell Trubisky beat you. And if he does, with those crop of receivers that might be the worst in the league, then you tip your cap and say, you know what? We deserve to be 0-16, and good job. But if you allow them to run the football, control and dictate pace of game, run time of possession, you're going to lose and you're going to be winless this season. So there it is. Next week, your opportunity to get off the schneid. What will you do with it? That's up to you. We'll see. Ravens get the win. Let's get to any comments that may be out there before we move on. Cloud says Browns have one more chance to get a win, and it's against the Bears. Absolutely. Cloud also says more than likely they'll go 0-16. I think they can get the Bears next week. But again, if they don't win next week, they're going 0-16 for sure. Barcode 0954 says if the Ravens get in, what could that mean for the Patriots and Steelers, two teams that the Ravens don't fear and play tough? It means a lot. They got to first get to the second round, to the divisional round, to get to one of those two teams. But the best way to do that is to have a first-round matchup with Kansas City, which means you need to get the 5th seed. If you get the 6th seed and you got to go to Jacksonville, I don't really like the prospects of you coming out with the win there, even though that defense may be able to fluster Blake Bortles. Their defense and what they're going to do to Joe Flacco might supersede what the Ravens defense is able to do to Blake Bortles and their run game. So, again, I think it's imperative if you're Baltimore and you're looking to do damage that you avoid Jacksonville and find a way to get to that 5th seed. Ken Rod says, what happened with that 2-win preseason prediction you had on Jacksonville? That went away with the most dominant defense in the league this season. That's what happened to that 2-win prediction that I had in the preseason. Those boys are playing the best defense of anybody in the league. I don't know if anybody saw that coming. Blake Bortles is taking care of the football. He's actually playing really good quietly. Nobody's paying attention because of that defense. That defense is so loud, and it's drowning out the fact that Blake Bortles is actually starting to play confident football. I'm going to talk about that when I get to the Jaguars video a little bit later on. But that 2-win prediction went away a long time ago when they went to Pittsburgh and destroyed the Steelers and picked off Ben Roethlisberger 5 times. That's when everybody realized these boys are not playing. They play defense, and it travel. Defense and run game travels anywhere. They have both of those things in spades. So that's what happened to that 2-win prediction from the preseason. John Niner says, Ken, you got to, he already did. He's good. In any event, that's going to do it for lockdown coverage of Ravens and Browns. Browns got one more opportunity to win a game. It's next week against the Browns. Good luck. You're going to need it. As for the Ravens, you've got 2 duds left. Only can win one at a time. That means take care of Indy at home on Saturday afternoon and then finish off your season at 10-6 with the win over Cincinnati to get you into the postseason and give you a shot to make some noise once you get there. And I think you can get a 5th seed. Depending on Tennessee, you can get a 5th seed if you just win out and get to 10-6. We'll see what happens. But nice win for the Ravens on the road over the Browns, 27-10. Get them to 8-6 and give them a realistic shot of not only getting in, but getting in as a 5th seed and avoiding Jacksonville in the first round of the playoffs. Browns are now 0-14, and they're running out of time to get one. Next week is the one to get. They don't get that one. They're going 0-16 and going down in NFL infamy as one of the worst teams in NFL history. It's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage, but plenty more to come. Don't you go anywhere. I'll be right back as we break down all the action from week number 15 in the National Football League. I'll see you in a second. Don't you go anywhere. More Lockdown Coverage to come.